Somatic and massage therapy education frequently teaches a highly specific framework known as the hierarchy of touch. The core assertion is one of linear dosage. As relational intimacy and physical intensity increase, the body yields a superior, dose-dependent release of the hormone oxytocin. But proving this hypothesis requires accurately quantifying intact oxytocin molecules in living human subjects, which is a notorious biochemical challenge. Oxytocin is secreted independently into two totally separate systems, the central nervous system and the peripheral systemic bloodstream. To determine if sampling peripheral fluids like blood or saliva reflects what is happening inside the brain, researchers conducted a massive meta-analysis of 516 participants. Comparing central and peripheral oxytocin, resting baseline conditions show virtually zero correlation, an R value of 0.08. Taking a single baseline blood draw from a relaxed person tells us almost nothing about the actual oxytogenergic activity occurring in their limbic system. To rigorously evaluate the touch hierarchy, we must ignore static baselines. We can only analyze the acute, stimulated fold increases that occur during active physical contact. The empirical neuroendocrinology shows that the human response to touch is not a simple reflex arc. It is a highly gated system where cognitive context can completely override mechanical input. To evaluate physical contact, we start with the anatomy. Human skin operates as a highly tuned, deeply complex social organ. The first structural category is glabrous, or hairless skin. This is predominantly located on the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet. This tissue is packed with myelinated A-beta nerve fibers. Their protective sheaths accelerate electrical transmission, firing rapid impulses to the somasensory cortex. These fast-adapting fibers are optimized for discriminative pressure and spatial acuity, reaching peak sensitivity at 200 Hz. The second category, hairy skin, covers the vast majority of the body. It houses an evolutionarily ancient network of unmyelinated nerves known as C-tactile, or CT, afferent fibers. CT fibers possess a strict tuning curve. They ignore vibration and deep static pressure, firing optimally only in response to gentle stroking applied between 1 and 10 centimeters per second at a neutral skin-like temperature. Upon activation, these signals bypass the brain's standard discriminative mapping centers. They project directly to the insula and anterior cingulate cortex, triggering oxytocin synthesis. The endocrine yield of any physical interaction is determined entirely by whether the peripheral neural architecture engaged is built for discriminative mapping or affective bonding. The first tier of the hierarchy evaluates therapeutic massage, serving as a standardized exogenous application of sustained mechanical pressure. Moderate pressure massage yields highly predictable biochemical shifts. By activating large swaths of mechanoreceptors, it downregulates the HPA axis, the body's central stress response system, measurably lowering circulating cortisol and adrenocorticotropic hormone. A comparative study isolated the variable of human contact, testing a hand-applied foot massage against an identical routine administered by a mechanical device. This bar chart compares the oxytocin yield of the two methods. Despite subjects rating the physical pressure of both modalities as completely equivalent, the hand-administered massage yielded significantly higher oxytocin. Functional neuroimaging data revealed that only the manual, human-administered massage successfully activated higher-order emotional processing regions, like the orbitofrontal cortex. The central nervous system intuitively discriminates between inanimate pressure and biological intent. Human presence is a required psychosocial variable to maximize the hormonal yield. The second tier of the hierarchy asserts that affectionate touch from a familiar partner produces a neuroendocrine surge superior to clinical massage. This introduces the contextual gating paradox. Identical gentle CT fiber stimulation can be intensely soothing or highly aversive, depending solely on the identity of the provider. In one experiment, researchers continuously drew blood from 42 women inside an fMRI machine, while their arms were stroked alternately by their romantic partner and an unknown male stranger. On this dual line graph, when the familiar partner initiated touch, subjects experienced an immediate oxytocin surge, while stress cortisol remained flat. Reversing the sequence, the stranger's touch inverted the response. Cortisol spiked sharply, and oxytocin flatlined at 0. The amygdala's threat detection system registered the stranger as a potential risk, entirely vetoing the pleasant biological input coming from the CT fibers. However, when the partner stepped in and resumed stroking after the stranger, the resulting oxytocin boost rapidly cleared the lingering stress cortisol from the bloodstream. The cognitive appraisal of safety acts as a master biological gatekeeper, elevating familiar affectionate touch far above clinical massage on the neuroendocrine hierarchy. Moving to the third tier, we evaluate the chronic neuroendocrine differences between deep romantic attachment and standard platonic friendship. Longitudinal blood assay data proves individuals in new romantic relationships maintain a stable baseline oxytocin level, roughly double that of unattached singles. This brings us to the fourth tier, the apex of standard human physical interaction, the sexual response cycle and orgasm. Sexual arousal transitions the body from broad CT fiber stimulation to the high-density activation of specialized mechanoreceptors localized within the genitalia and mucosal tissues. The transition to orgasm is physiologically violent, driven by intense autonomic discharge, severe vasocongestion, and systemic pelvic myotonia, a state of profound, involuntary muscle tension. This gauge visualization displays the acute neuroendocrine spike. Orgasm triggers a massive pulsatile ejection of oxytocin from the posterior pituitary, multiplying baseline systemic levels up to 5-fold. Partnered sexual activity quantitatively dwarfs the oxytocinergic yield of manual therapy by chemically tethering intense physical receptor firing to profound psychological vulnerability. The hierarchy accurately maps standard interpersonal touch, but the true biological ceiling of the oxytocinergic system actually exists outside of standard social or romantic interaction. During the second stage of human labor, the body engages a massive neuroendocrine mechanism known as the Ferguson reflex. This circular flow diagram illustrates the positive feedback loop. Extreme mechanical stretching of the cervix triggers oxytocin release, which causes stronger uterine contractions, which causes more cervical stretching, repeating the cycle. Assays show that natural labor and postpartum lactation spikes consistently reach upwards of 166 picograms per milliliter, mathematically obliterating levels seen during sexual orgasm. Sex represents the absolute zenith of relational touch. Parturition and lactation represent the unrelenting evolved limit of human oxytocin production. The escalating physiological tiers of the touch hierarchy are structurally valid. They progress logically from basic vagal tone shifts in massage up to the extreme neural firing of orgasm. However, these mechanics are frequently obscured by a highly reductionistic popular narrative that labels oxytocin simply as the love hormone or a cuddle chemical. Modern neurobiology defines a different model. Oxytocin does not force positive interactions. It functions primarily as a social salience amplifier, heightening the brain's attention to interpersonal cues regardless of their emotional valence. In environments appraised as threatening or competitive, this exact same amplification directly drives hypervigilance, outgroup prejudice, and defensive aggression. Observational data in wild chimpanzees confirms this. Massive endogenous oxytocin surges occur during violent intergroup conflicts to foster coordinated, survival-based hostility against rival factions. The physical stimulus, whether it is the broad pressure of a massage or the neural climax of an orgasm, merely provides the raw biological ignition via CT fibers and mechanoreceptors. The ultimate emotional resonance of any physical contact is inextricably bound to cognitive context. Without psychological safety, mechanical touch cannot engineer physiological trust.